Pretty exciting morning because we went to the only store where you can find every single thing that you need. Everything from handmade soap, it's all natural, to pickled okra, to fried pies. And if you don't know what a fried pie is, you got to stay tuned because we're not going to tell you yet. We're going to tell you at the end of the video what fried pies are all about. So we're at RM Brooks General Store, and tell them your name and tell them about the store, and also give them a little history because your history, kind of your family runs in this.
Yes. Well, my name is Tiffany Terry. I'm Linda Jones, Bill and Linda Jones's daughter. This country store is my grandparents' country store. My great-grandfather started it in the early 20s, and my grandmother and grandfather moved back from Oak Ridge, and they helped them run it, while my great-grandfather had an auction barn that people know in this area know all about it from all around. They still have furniture. I still have people that come in and tell me about buying furniture from there. So my dad passed away, and my mother, who is 80 now, has Grey Gables Bed and Breakfast. She wanted to keep the store. And so my mom and my uncle owned it together, and my uncle wanted to be bought out. So it just so happened that I was in a position that I could help and buy it. So my husband and I bought it, and this is what I do for a living.
So tell them a little bit about what's in here, because actually the U.S. Post Office for Rugby, Tennessee is not located here, is it?
No, it is not anymore.
But if you come here, it used to be in here, didn't it? So it's actually like right around the corner there. So tell us a little bit about the post office there.
Well, my grandmother was the postmistress, and I found out through some people that came here that I was staying over 40 years, but she was actually the postmistress for almost 40 years. And then my dad ran it for a while. We still have the original boxes, and I've pretty much tried to leave it the way that it was. I really wanted to straighten it up, but I had a guy that works at the post office coming here one time, and I asked him, what he thought. He said, leave it exactly the way that it is, because when the post offices were in this country stores like this, they were not very organized, because they would go over and they would stamp a letter and they'd come back and make a sandwich. So I pretty much tried to leave it. I have a few things in there, but I've left letters or just stuff in the boxes so people can kind of see what that was like.
So if you live in Rugby, Tennessee, and you're still waiting for your mail to come, it's probably here.
It's probably here.
So there's other things in here. I saw a stove that's in the center. Is that a working stove?
That is a working stove.
Holy cow.
So when we bought the store, and it took me about 1.5 years to figure out exactly. I knew God had put it in my hands, but I didn't really know what it was to look like. So I sat on it for about 1.5 years. In the midst of that, we had to bring all of the stuff that was in my grandmother's and grandparents' house that was attached to the store where my mother was raised in here. So you couldn't even walk in here. So, but I did know that I wanted it to be as original as possible for people. So we had new coolers in here. I told my husband I want them to go. The old Pepsi cooler was in here, and it was not working. So I had my refrigeration guy come, and it was a simple fan that cost me about $160. But the day of our grand opening, we had a fan, like a little box fan. Recently, I've purchased the Coke cooler so that people can come in, they can actually slide it, they can open up the cooler the way it used to be a long time ago. So I've tried to not modernize the store as much as possible. Of course, I don't sell a lot of the commodities that they sold, but I've tried to make a really thick bologna sandwich and feed my local guys really good.
So the menu, I guess we better ask. Menu-wise, what's the #1 thing that you sell?
Probably bologna sandwiches, but cheeseburgers are right up there. So when I started, my menu was very simplistic. It was just cold sandwiches. I wanted to keep things very simple. And then it kept expanding. Like my uncle would come in and he said, you need to do a ribeye sandwich. So he brought me some ribeyes, and I'd sell a really thin ribeye sandwich. And then I had a local lady who was making me homemade rye bread. And so then I acquired a Reuben sandwich. So my menu has kind of grown throughout the years, but I do try to keep it as simplistic as possible. But
and going back farther into the store, what's in there? Farther back into the store.
In the back part of the store?
Yeah.
So what I tried to do was, I had a friend of my mother's who said that she had went into a store where they just lined the shelves, because I really was trying to figure out, what do I line the shelves with? What do I make this look like? Because now everybody is used to going to the bigger stores And so I wasn't going to be selling cans of peas and green beans for people. So
Okay.
she said, just put things on the shelves that, like a museum. So that's kind of what I've done. So in the back, there's tables, but people can sit at. And then there's just stuff all around the store that's been collected throughout the years.
A lot of books.
There's a lot of books. Some of my books are for sale though. And so everything that's I tell everybody, everything that's up high is not for sale. But go ahead and ask me, but I'll probably tell you no.
So you waited. So now we're going to tell you about fried pies. Here it comes. So tell us about the fried pies.
So my husband and I do a cruise-in 2 or 3 times a year. It's open for mainly antique cars, but I welcome anybody. You don't have to have an antique car. We welcome motorcycles. But this particular year, we were in the process of tearing down the old house. And so we had a lot going on, and we had a deadline before this cruising. And my uncle wanted me to sell sorghum in here from Muddy Pond. So he comes back with a fried pie, and he says, try this fried pie and tell me what you think. And I didn't know where he was going with this. And so my son and I tried the fried pie, and he said, well, good. He said, what do you think about selling this weekend? And I said, well, I don't know, Uncle Bobby. I have a lot going on. And so I said, I'm not sure. But maybe we can sell them. And he says, well, good, because I've ordered 50 of them. And I was a little overwhelmed. So there for a period of time, I would drive to the Amish community and pick up fried pies because I didn't know how they were going to do. And my mother one day said, I don't want to intrude, but she said, I have your great-grandmother's Church of God recipe. And she said, would you like for me to try it? And I said, absolutely. And so that's how the fried pies originated. My mother started doing the fried pies at her house, and she would make as many as I needed. And then recently, I have started doing the fried pies myself, which my mother says is a big adventure. So I actually cook the fried pies in-house. They are my great-grandmother's recipe and the Church of God recipe. So anyway, I'm excited to have him in here, and I'm excited to be doing it. It's a big leap for me to do fried pies.
So tell people if they wanted to, is there a website? Do you have a website?
I do have a website. It's www.rmbrooksstore.com.
And then tell them actually where your physical location. So where are you if someone's coming down the road? Where are you located?
I'm located in Rugby, Tennessee. My physical address is 2830 Rugby Highway, Rugby, Tennessee, 37733. I'm just off of the State Highway 52. We're on the bypass around it, and so
right before the town.
Right before the town. I'm 1 mile from the visitor center.
Yep, and very close to your mom's.
I'm very close to my mom's. You can walk there. I'm about a quarter of a mile. So
that's all good. You have to come. You have to try the fried pies. She's not going to give you the recipe probably, but hey, you get to eat them, and that's what counts.
Yes, and that was key because it was for the longest time the ladies at the church would not give out the recipe because that's how they raised money for the church. But my mom did get a hold of it, and it is in her cookbook. So I would be delighted to have you, and you could come try some of the fried pies made in-house.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Bye.